السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
أهلا
wabarakatuh.
وسهلا
How are
فيك.
you, Sheikh Main?
حياك الله، كيف الحال؟ Good to see you.
Alhamdulillah.
السلام عليكم Brother Muhammad. How are you?
Assalamualaikum. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good to see you. Alhamdulillah. I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wait for another 5 minutes, just to let. This is gonna be streamed through Facebook and YouTube as well, inshallah.
Okay. Are you living in Chicago area?
I'm living in Portland right now,
Oh, mashallah.
Oregon.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And the organization itself, the Indonesian, the name of the organization?
Muslim, yeah, Indonesian Muslim Society in America.
Oh, mashallah. Is it a masjid there in Chicago?
I'm in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, we have several masjid here. Bilal Masjid, As-Sabar Masjid,
Mashallah.
and then there's Hillsboro Masjid. We invited you last time, I think, also for giving a talk last time.
When it was actually,
I think it's like, Zulfan, brother Zulfan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was he was your contact last time.
Where is he now?
It's a while ago. I think he's still in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. You're still in Houston, right?
Yes. I'm still in Houston.
There's a Masjid Istiqlal Masjid.
لا والله أخي, I'm not an imam. I serve in different masajid, but I'm not the registered imam of any of the masajid.
Okay, so yeah, he's there in the Istiqlal Masjid in Houston.
Yes, yeah. I did actually a program for them a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm in touch with them. So the Indonesian Muslim Society, is it a masjid? I mean, I know it is an organization, but I mean,
No, it's national organization, like mass national.
Oh, I see.
So it's not a local organization.
Do you have masjid like under your organization's name in Chicago?
No masjid. Inshallah, make dua for us.
Do you have masajid under this organization's name somewhere else outside Chicago?
No masjid yet. Inshallah.
It was founded in the 1998 in St. Louis, yeah.
1998, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nationwide. Every year we have like annual conference. It's called Muktamar, and it's in person. Usually it's like ISNA conference, so we have like about 1,000 or last time 2,000 people attending.
Oh, I did participate in the last Muktamar that you have done. I did actually. I was invited to an Indonesian, Malaysian.
Yes, that one. Yes, yeah. Because of pandemic last year, we did not have the in-person conference. It's all virtual. But Alhamdulillah, last year is pretty. 2,000 people attending the Muktamar. Usually it's like 1,000, 1,500.
So the masajid that you attend in Oregon are just independent masajid. They do not belong to your organization, right?
No, independent. Yeah, it's a local masajid. Yeah.
No.
There's maybe Muslim Educational Trust. We have Islamic Society Greater Portland. There's other organization as well. Yeah.
And I have visited some of the masajid there in Salem, and
oh yeah, there's one in Salem. It's about an hour from here. Yeah. That one is considerably new. We just built that like a couple of years ago, I believe. Yeah.
I know Sheikh Yusuf Wanli. He's one of our instructors at Guidance College. Yusuf Wanli.
Oh yeah.
Was the Imam and Khatib, Hafid there.
Yes. Yeah. He's. I just met him like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he accepted
Mashallah,
a police officer job recently. Became a police officer.
Yes.
Yeah, and he still actually teaches Islamic studies with us, mashallah, at Guidance College.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
So okay, so Mas Didik, could we start now, or is it ready?
Yeah, it's streaming already. Just
okay. So we Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak to all. May Allah grant us health and well-being and blessing in this month of Ramadan. Thank you all for coming to this lecture organized by IMSA, Indonesian Muslim Society of America. For those who don't know about this organization, it's a nationwide organization found in 1998 in St. Louis, Missouri. It is non-profit, religious, charitable, scientific, educational, and every year we have annual conference called Muktamar, as most of you already know. And inshallah, today we very fortunate to have Sheikh Al-Ustaz Dr. Main Al-Qudah, Ph.D. In our lecture today. We're gonna talk about all about Zakah. And the session will be, we will have the lecture for about 40 to 50 minutes. Is it okay, Sheikh?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you decide.
Okay. And then we're gonna continue with the question answer because we have another talk after this about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we need to stop at in Portland time is 3:30 or Eastern time is 6:30, inshallah. So let me introduce Sheikh Main Al-Qudah. Sheikh Al-Ustaz Dr. Main Al-Qudah, PhD. He graduated from Al-Azhar University, Cairo in 1991, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, as well as Master of Arts in Islamic Economics from Al-Yarmouk University, Jordan in 1996. He got a PhD in Islamic Studies, concentration in Islamic Finance from American Open University, Virginia in 2005. MashaAllah, Sheikh, you have a long experience here. He was a director of International Islamic Relief Organization in Jordan, 1994 to 97, and then a research assistant in Al-Yarmouk University, Jordan, as well as teacher, organization of memorization of the Quran. Is it in Saudi Arabia, Sheikh?
Yes.
Saudi Arabia, yeah. And then lecturer of Islamic Studies at Al-Ahasa Teachers College in Saudi also. And then also adjunct professor Islamic American University. And then adjunct professor American Open University. Resident scholar in Mascati Center, Texas. Visiting research scholar Islamic Da'wah Center in Texas. Adjunct professor Mishkah University, Texas. And adjunct director and co-founder Houston Quran Academy, Texas. And the CEO and co-founder and guidance college Al-Qudah University in Texas as well. Currently, the Sheikh is an assistant professor of Islamic Studies in American Open University and also acting academic dean and assistant professor at Islamic American University and research assistant at Yarmouk University. So without any further delay, tafadal Sheikh, give you the time.
جزاك الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالعلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. ثم أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected brothers and sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all for attending this gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all credit for being together virtually today to review together some of the basic rules of Zakah. Believe it or not, we were waiting for the month of Ramadan. Now we are counting down, and tonight will be the first night, the first odd night in the last 10 days of Ramadan, which is very possible to be Laylatul Qadr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all, worshipping Him accordingly in those blessed and precious and valuable moments from now all the way until the end of the month of Ramadan. Prophet ﷺ used to increase his dose of ibadah in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, used to awaken his family members to make sure that the whole family member actually are on the same page and are increasing their ibadah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us all. Allahumma ameen. All about Zakah for American Muslims. This presentation, actually, if I want to go like slide by slide, it will take around 3.5 to 4 hours. And the allocated time is only 40 minutes. So I will try just to touch on some like basic rules that are very relevant to American Muslims. But briefly, I was requested to talk about the like the virtue of paying Zakatul Mal. As you see, it is one of the pillars of Islam. So we're not talking about any kind of sadaqah or donation. No, we're talking about Zakatul Mal, which is how to fulfill one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's always, or in most cases in the Quran, associated with the establishment of Salah, to show it's important. Paying Zakatul Mal consistently and committing to it causes safety and security and peace of mind for those who commit to paying it. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم. Those who spend for the cause of Allah day and night, openly and secretly, will be getting their reward with their Lord. ولا خوف عليهم, there will be no fear for them. ولا هم يحزنون, nor they will grieve. And also it is a sign of gaining success in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, وَمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, until he said وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, when he counted some of the qualities of the believers. Paying Zakatul Mal actually is a must for those who are labeled or identified as Zakah payers, and refraining from paying Zakatul Mal causes severe consequences. It is one of the qualities of the mushrikeen. This does not mean that the one who does not pay zakah is a mushrik, but it is a bad quality. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُشْرِكِينَ, woe or punishment for the polytheists. الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, those who do not pay zakah. For those who hold stingily and do not want to spend for the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, according to the Quran itself, whatever they stingily withhold shall be hung around their necks on the day of resurrection. All the properties and the gold and the money will be surrounding the necks of those people, and this is actually a sort of punishment for them in the hereafter. Of course, there are like a lot of benefits behind establishing Zakatul Mal in the society. You have a sense of obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. You clean the human heart from all the greed and that bukhl or miserliness that you do not want to spend. It purifies your soul. It purifies even your wealth, because there is no guarantee that all of your income is 100% halal, especially if you live and work in this society where the pure halal job opportunities are very limited comparison to those who live in a Muslim society. So the more you pay zakah, and even on top of the zakah you increase your zakah, the more you have assurance that your money has been purified and cleansed out actually from all filthiness, all haram that might contaminate your money unknowingly. Moving on with the technical fiqh topics, substituting zakah by taxes. Okay, paying Zakatul Mal or paying taxes to the government is insufficient. You cannot count your tax money that you pay toward your zakah, because tax actually is a governmental financial responsibility. You live in this society here. You have social security number. You live legally. You work. You earn money. Consequently, you have to pay tax, whether you are Muslim or atheist or Christian or Jewish or Buddhist. Regardless, you pay Zakatul Mal not because you live in the US, no, because you are a Muslim. Even if you live, one day outside the United States, you still have to pay Zakatul Mal. So this is a pure religious obligation, and this is a pure legal and national obligation, if you wish. Of course, there are a lot of differences between the tax and Zakatul Mal. One of them that we need to be aware of as American Muslims living in this society, the zakah is paid on one's remaining wealth. Okay, let's say for example in 2020, last year, you made $100,000 income, straight 100,000. Okay, you pay Zakatul Mal in the month of Ramadan usually. Okay, you found out that the remaining income in that particular month was only $15,000. While the $85,000 already have been spent. Well, do not worry about whatever you have spent. You should start your math, your calculation based on the $15,000. Unlike when you file, for your for the IRS for your tax, you start your math with the 100,000. You start your math, your calculation based on 100,000. Another difference, that tax money might be waived for some people for some reason, in certain circumstances might be excused or just overlooked from paying tax. There is no one who has the authority even of waiving or excusing anyone from paying Zakatul Mal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who designated those 8 different categories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who mandated Zakatul Mal. He did not give that authority to anyone, including his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not give him the authority of excusing some people from paying Zakatul Mal. When it comes to the rate, the vast majority of the zakatable assets, okay, their zakat rate is 2.5%. The most important category that we care about here, Muslims in this society, is zakatul naqdain, zakah actually on the business and in the cash money that you have, which is 2.5%. It jumps to 5% in certain cases for those who are involved in farming business, who have agricultural products, up to 10%. And only one case, which is zakatul rikaz, and I will explain inshallah. Zakatul rikaz, if you are the owner, for example, of the mining business or the oil and gas business nowadays, then you are supposed to pay 20% zakah on the value of your business. But if you work for an oil and gas company, you do not have to pay 20%. You pay only 2.5% on the income that you receive. Of course, I mean, there is no worldly return for paying Zakatul Mal. You anticipate a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taxpayers receive direct or indirect services. This is another difference. In Zakatul Mal, you are either a zakat payer, like you have a surplus, you have a threshold extra money or wealth that is at least equivalent to 85 grams of gold, okay? Or if you are involved in farming business, you have khamsatu awsuq, certain amount of kilograms or pounds of agricultural products like crops and vegetables and etc. Or if you have like a cattle business, you have a certain number of heads of animals. So you are a zakat payer. You are not supposed to benefit from your zakah. You are either a zakat payer, or otherwise a zakat recipient. You are needy individual, you are poor, faqir, and you deserve to take zakat al-mal. Or maybe in some cases, you just break even. Okay, you are not that wealthy to pay zakat al-mal. You are not that needy to receive zakat al-mal. But in any way, when you pay zakat al-mal, in most cases, you are not supposed to get your money back in a way or another. When it comes to taxes, and again, this is to justify on why we cannot count, why cannot we count our tax money toward our zakah, because you do receive a part of the money that you pay to the government in the form of services, 911 service, the streets, the parks, the what else, public school system, certain financial aid given by the, I mean, this is our zakah money. So you pay tax and you receive a part of your money in the form of khadamat, services. But when you pay zakat al-mal, in most cases you are not supposed to benefit from it. What is to be included, what is to be excluded? All the cash that you have, whether that cash came from your salary or a bonus from the company or income tax return that you receive from the IRS in the form of inheritance from one of your relatives, if you have cryptocurrency, or though you're not supposed to trade in cryptocurrency, you received a stimulus check from Biden, from what's his name, Trump. All the money that you receive are to be added up together, and this is actually called the personal zakatable wealth. Why it is personal? Because it has nothing to do with your profession or with your business or with your job, right? It depends on you as a person, versus the other category, which is the business zakatable wealth. For the first one, for the first one, all the money that you have, all the money, whether it is for consumption purposes, you want to spend it, or you are putting it aside for saving purposes, or for investment purposes, to perform Hajj in the near future, to get married if you are still single, to save that money for your kids, to buy a house, to buy a car, whatever the reason might be. All the cash money, even if that money, which is something illegal, but even if that money is undocumented, the government does not know about it, it's still actually in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a documented money where you have to consider it, for paying Zakatul al-Mal. Now, the business Zakatable, as you see here, trading goods, merchandise, commodities, anything that you sell, anything that you offer for your clients. If you have a grocery store, very simple example, all the groceries, all the food items that are served on the shelves, okay, all the display items, if you have, all the inventory, all the stock that you have, anything that is for sale is Zakatable. If you are involved in business like trading, buying and selling, you are a merchant. Or if you have some exploited assets like rental property, you have homes, okay, houses for rent, they are not for sale. Then whatever you generate, whatever lease revenue you generate is to be included in Zakatul Mal. Another example is to have a taxi cab, for example. The value of the car, of the vehicle itself, the taxi cab, is not Zakatable, but the money that you generate out of offering or providing transportation service is a Zakatable world. Agricultural products is to be included, livestock. I'm going to just move quickly. Zakatul Rikaz, basically it's the valuables that people have buried and left a while ago. Natural resources nowadays, such as oil and precious stones, metals, gemstones, oil and gas business nowadays, according to a group of scholars, takes the same rule of rikaz. Mining business actually takes the same rule of rikaz. That's to be included and not to be excluded. Even if there is no straightforward evidence in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the zakatability of a certain kind of business, there is a rule here. Zakah is potentially due on all products whose sources are not zakatable, which means that you are not supposed to pay zakah twice, on the source of the product and on the product itself. It's either or. You either have to pay zakah on the product, and the source of that product is zakah exempt, or otherwise you pay zakah on the source, but the product is zakah exempt. For example, if you have a piece of land that you own, right, and you use it for farming business, for agriculture business, well, you don't have to pay zakah on the land, but you have to pay zakah on the crops, on the agriculture products. You have silk from silkworms, right? Silkworms are zakah exempt, but you pay zakah on the profit that you make from the silk. You have another business, eggs from poultry. You don't have to pay zakah on the poultry, but you pay zakah on the eggs. Dairy from livestock. You have 1,000 cows. Okay, you don't have to pay zakah on the cows if and only if you pay zakah on the dairy products. You hold that big amount of cows as a business, okay, as a source of a product. That product is the dairy product, milk and cheese and etc. Honey from bees, although we do have a hadith that Prophet ﷺ used to charge 10% on Zakatul Asal, honey from bees. But again, you see here, how consistent the rules are. It's either or. Okay, if the source is zakatable, the source itself, then the product is zakah exempt. If the product is zakatable, then the source actually is zakah exempt. What is to be excluded from Zakatul Mal? Anything that you hold for your personal use, the food that you store at home, the clothing that you have, the residence that you, like the house that you live in, even if you have another house overseas that is not for sale, that is not for rent, it is just like locked throughout the whole year long, only for you. Whenever you go vacation, you open it for 1-2 weeks and use it. That is zakah exempt. All transportation, all the vehicles that you have for yourself, for your spouse, for your kids, anything that is not tradable, that is not business, okay, that is not for sale, that is not a source of income for you, is zakah exempt. Domestic animals, let me skip it. Okay, if you are a business person, okay, or like involved in business in general, all the tools, the devices, the machineries, okay, the offices, the buildings that you have to run your business are zakah exempt. Okay, you have, I mean, you are an MD, a surgeon, or a physician, and you have your own practice. All the equipments that you use in your iyad, in your office, are zakah exempt. The only thing is zakatable is the money that you generate out of providing the healthcare service. Agricultural land is exempted. Why? Because you have to pay zakah on the agricultural products. Property and public trust is zakah exempt. Designated property, if you have waqf for your masjid, for example, everything is exempted. Allah forbids if someone was involved in the past in anything that's haram, generated some money due to bribery, extortion, forgery, ghish, cheating, fraud, monopoly, anything that is interest, for example, that money actually is purely haram source of income. And the only way to clear your record with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to dispose that money. If you know the owner, you pay it back to its owner. If it has no legitimate owner, okay, then if you need that money, you can keep it like interest, for example. But if you do not need it, then you can safely just dispose it, give it to needy individuals, and stay in the safe side. Who is supposed to pay Zakatul Mal? Of course, only Muslims who have the nisab, the minimum amount of money. The most important one that we need to know is nisabul dhahab, which is 85 grams of gold. If today the 24 carat gram of gold worth $50, 50, then the nisab is 85 times $50. That is $4,500. Which means that if you do have $4,500 net amount, not gross amount, net amount after deducting everything that is deductible, right? Then you still have to pay Zakatul Mal. The personal status, okay, of the zakah payer is not to be taken into consideration. Whether that person is adult or minor or kid or even infant doesn't make any difference. Puberty, orphanage, mental status. What's the difference between Zakatul Mal and Salah? I mean, why do not we mandate our children to pray? Why they do not have to pray? Because Salah actually is a physical ibadah. Okay, why they have to pay Zakatul Mal if they are wealthy? Oh, because Zakatul Mal is a financial ibadah. It is a financial ibadah. The legal guardian or the wealth manager of the orphan or the minor has to take care of his zakah on his behalf. For the wealth that you have, it has to be an exclusive ownership of the threshold. Okay, if you have a very, very small business that's worth $5,000 along with your friend, with your neighbor, right? Your share is only $2,500. Your share does not reach any nisab, and your partner is not a Muslim, right? Your share does not constitute any nisab, then you are zakah exempt. Although the whole business worth $5,000, but your share does not constitute or does not accumulate any nisab, then you are zakah exempt. Ability of growth, actually or potentially. Again, anything that is for your personal use, the clothes that you have in your closet, the food that's stored in the pantry, the furniture, the equipment, the utensils, the cars that you drive, the house that you live in, anything that is not for sale, that you are not making money out of it, then it is zakah exempt. I'll give you a good example. You live in a house and this is your primary residence. As long as you live in that particular house, it is zakah exempt. After a while, you change your mind, you stepped out, you left that house and you live somewhere else, right? You made that house for rent. You put a sign for rent. From that point on, you have to pay zakah on the lease revenue, on the money that you generate out of leasing or renting that house. Okay, if you still have something like tangible, still available, accumulates nisab, and the zakah you did, you pay zakah on it. You rented that house for 2 or 3 years, and then you said, you know what, I'm not going to rent it, I'm going to just put it for sale. And you put it actively in the market on a website, and you assign an agent, okay, to sell the house. From that point on, you have to pay zakah on the market value of the house every single year, whether the house is sold or not. Whether the house is sold or not. If the market value is 250,000, then you have to pay zakah on the 250,000 every single year. Okay, what happened here? What is the difference? The difference actually is your intention and your practice. When you were occupying the house, living it, okay, it was not a growable asset. It was not actually or potentially growable asset. It's just your residence. When you stepped out and you put it for rent, it became a kind of business, but it's not urudu tijara. It's not something for sale. So you pay zakah on the money that you generate out of renting it. But when you change your mind for the second time and you put it for sale, it became a commodity. I mean, something in the market for sale. You have to pay zakah on its market value. Passage of 1 lunar year, zakah is to be paid once a year. Once a year. If you receive monthly payment, monthly check from your employer, you can, if you wish, you can pay zakah 2.5% from each and every check that you receive. But honestly, you do not have to. And I know some Indonesian, Malaysian brothers in our community, at least in the past, who used to insist in paying zakah on monthly basis. Well, you can do that. You can, but you do not have to, because zakah is to be paid annually. And subhanAllah, if you think about it more, you will find out that there is a hikmah, there is a wisdom behind charging you zakatul mal on an annual basis, which is to give you a breather, give you enough period of time to invest money, to make money, and to pay zakah from the profit that you make. But if you pay it on monthly basis, okay, you will be paying from the principal, not from the profit. However, it's up to you, but you do not have to pay zakah on a monthly basis. One condition also for the zakatability of the wealth itself is the access to the wealth. Or if something is owned by you, but it is not accessed by you, okay, then whatever accessible, partially or totally, whatever accessible is zakatable. Whatever accessible is zakatable. Take those examples here. Examples of limited access, loan. You gave money to somebody else. You are the lender and he is the borrower. You do not have the money cash in hand. You do not have control over the money. You don't have to pay zakah on that money until you receive the money. IRA, individual retirement account, if it is accessible in full, which is the case, by the way, if it is IRA individual, it's not 401k, it's not 403, it's not a pension plan. No, it's IRA. If it is IRA and you do have an access to it, which is the case, then you have to pay zakah. You just do your math, how much you will be taking home, okay, after deducting the penalty and the tax and the processing fees or whatever. Net amount actually is zakatable one. 401k is partially accessible. You are not supposed to touch your 401k, but if you insist in applying for humanitarian case, for hardship, sometimes they call it, to your investment company, to Vanguard, to Fidelity, right? They will be giving you an access to a certain percentage of the value of your account. Very simple example. The value of your portfolio, your 401k, is $100,000. And the accessible amount is 50%. So $50,000 are accessible in our example. If you decide to proceed, you will not be taking home $50,000. You will be charged maybe, let's say $5,000, between tax, between penalty, between processing fees. So the net amount so far is $45,000. That amount is zakatable. You have two options: to be in the safe side and to pay zakah on the $45,000 in our example. Or if you want to go with the book and not to pay extra money, you can deduct 15-20% from those $45,000 as usulun thabita, as fixed assets, because the stocks that you have do not represent 100% commodities and merchandise, right? those companies have their own offices, have their own, you know, machineries and tools and equipments and devices and software and hardware, etc., etc. Okay, the percentage of the usul thabita, the fixed assets, could be 15, 20, 25%. If you wanna go with the book, you can deduct up to, let's say, 25%, and you pay zakah on the rest. So this is actually the criteria. Whatever accessible is zakatable. What if you work for the federal government or for the state government, okay, and you do not receive 401k, you receive something called the pension plan. Pension plan, to my knowledge, is not accessible at all. There's nothing called a humanitarian case or hardship. I mean, you cannot touch it. You wait until the age of retirement, or Allah forbids, in case of death or disability. That's a different discussion. If that is the case, then your pension plan, believe it or not, even if you have tens of thousands of dollars, is not zakatable. Why? Because you do not have an access to it, period. Whatever accessible is zakatable. Do not get confused between the threshold and the poverty line. Poverty line is an economic governmental standard to determine eligibility. Okay, to determine it is a minimum standard of living. The government actually set it every single year to make sure that only those who desire financial or non-financial support from the government are receiving that support. So those who are under the poverty line are eligible. If you are above the poverty line, then you are not. Some people think that if you are under the poverty line, then you are a zakah recipient by default. And if you are above the poverty line, then you are a zakah payer. Well, there is no connection between the two. You can easily be above the poverty line and you are still an eligible zakah recipient. If you can make a case in front of the masjid or the zakah payers that yes, I do make money, but my legitimate expenses are way more than the money that I make, then you are eligible zakah recipient. Maybe the masjid will not give you zakah because the zakah money is limited and the needy individuals are a lot and they have priorities. That's their policy. But this does not mean that you are not eligible zakah recipient. You are. And vice versa, if you are under the poverty line and you do have an nisab of cattle, for example, you have 30 cows or buffalo, you have 40 sheep or goat or lamb. Well, you have to pay zakah even if you are under the poverty line. So do not get confused between threshold, poverty line. Those are two, you know, completely separate and different standards. You do not have to combine two different assets who are different in nature. If you have agricultural products less than a nisab, and you have cash money, okay, and you have what else? Some cattle, right? You don't have to add them up because each category has its own nisab. You just focus on the money that you have and the business, right? Business like the commodities and merchandise. If they accumulate a nisab of $4,500, then you pay zakah. Okay. Do not get confused with the nisab of al-baqar, the cows that you have, which is 30. If you do have 30 cows, you pay zakah on them. If you do not have them, then you are zakah exempt in that particular category. You might be a zakah payer, you know, somewhere else. If they belong to the same category, let's say, for example, you have IRA, right, and you have cash money. Are they to be added up? Yes, because I mean, IRA is a sort of cash. Yes, I mean, I know it is financial instruments and stocks, but if you want to liquidate your account, you can do so within just 1 week. So the cash money are to be added up to the value of the IRA because they do belong to the same category. Throughout the whole year long, if you went below the nisab, that would be fine. Okay, you don't have to break the hawl or the passage of 1 lunar year, okay, because you went below the nisab. You started with the month of Ramadan, for example, with $4,500. If you still have $4,500 or more next Ramadan, then you have to pay zakah, regardless of the fluctuation, okay, in owning the threshold throughout the whole year long. Even if you went up, even if you went down, it doesn't matter. Okay, just focus on the beginning and the end of the hawl, which is the fiscal lunar year. Okay, in the zakat due date, if you still have a nisab, okay, or a threshold minimum amount, then you have to pay zakat. Do not worry about the cash flow that you experience if you work and you receive a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month, right? You don't have to keep track of everything, okay? If you have only one source of income, which is the job that you are having with Exxon Mobil, with Shell, for example, right? Do not worry about the money that you receive, okay? Receive whatever you deserve, spend whatever you need, save the rest, okay? If in your zakat due date, okay, let's say the beginning of the month of Ramadan, you found out that you have $25,000, okay, in your bank account, it means that you spent maybe another $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 throughout the whole year long, and this is actually the remaining income. That remaining income is the zakatable one. Okay, what if you provide a professional service? You work as an attorney, as a consultant, as an engineer, as a medical doctor. You have your own practice. Sometimes you receive money on daily basis. Every single day you have a customer or a client or a patient if you are a doctor, right? And you provide a service and you receive money. Okay. Again, do not worry about the cash flow. Some people think that the passage of one lunar year means that every single payment that you receive has to stay in your possession for one complete year, which is wrong. Okay. The passage of one lunar year is on the nisab itself. Okay, you are not a zakat payer unless you establish $4,500 from that particular business, which is the case. I mean, most probably it is the case. Whatever is added up on top of the $4,500 is zakatable as well. Okay, a few days before the beginning of Ramadan, you received a big check from one of your clients, $25,000. And you made a deposit for that $25,000 just 1 or 2 days before Ramadan. Okay. Now, in the beginning of the month of Ramadan, you found out that you have $150,000 in your account, in which 25,000 came just a few days ago. Do you have to pay zakah on the total amount that you have? The answer is yes. Okay. That extra amount is called al-mal al-mustafad, the generated, the surplus, the extra money that has been added up to the nisab. Whatever is added up to the nisab takes the same rule of the nisab. According to the strongest opinion, the jewelry that your wife uses, as long as, number one, it is within the average that other ladies in that community own. This is number one. And number two, the jewelry is not for business purposes. It's not for like active trading in the market. Then the jewelry actually is zakah exempt. If the average nowadays is 20,000, I'm just giving random numbers, and my wife has $70,000 worth of jewelry. Okay, the first 20,000 are zakah exempt, because this is what other like ladies, what other sisters in the society usually have, and the rest actually is zakatable. If she has only 20,000 within the average, but it's obvious and clear for me and for my wife that we are making your jewelry as a business. We just keep watching the news and the jewelry price. Whenever the price goes up, we sell what we have. Whenever the price goes down, we buy new items or jewelry. If that is the common practice, then all the $20,000 actually are zakatable. Only in one case, if the jewelry is within the average and it's not for commercial purposes, then it is zakah exempt. Here is the formula for any 401k, 403. It could be pension, annuity. You go with the withdrawable amount. And by the way, when I say withdrawable, it does not mean that you have to physically withdraw the money. No, it's just like a hypothetical math that you make in order for you to determine how to, or to calculate your zakat. You go with the withdrawable amount, right? Accessible amount, minus any prescribed penalty, minus any prescribed tax. The zakatable amount, you can still deduct, I would say 10-15% usul thabita, right? Fixed assets, and you pay zakah on the rest. This has nothing to do with the financial instruments, okay, that you have outside your retirement account. Okay, if you see here, if you compare, by the way, actually, I already sent the PowerPoint to the brother here. It is not copyrighted. Please feel free to like have your own copy and to circulate it, like, you know, send it to whomever he wants. So retirement account is different from financial instruments when it comes to the Zakah. Although retirement fund is a kind of financial instrument. I mean, what do you have in your 401k? You have stocks, right? What do you have in your 403b? You have stocks. Your pension, most probably you have stocks. Okay. Why we have them like two different categories? Because here in the retirement account, this is a very restricted account. You are not supposed to touch it. You are not supposed to come closer to it. This is a retirement account, right? You wait until you retire and then you receive your money. Okay. But here, you know, the whole story is different. I mean, this is a side investment. Okay. Yeah, it could be like a simple investment account, brokerage account with TD Ameritrade. It could be IRA, for example, that you establish that has nothing to do with your employer. Okay. Those financial instruments, okay, could be stocks, which is the right option for you as a practicing religious Muslim. Of course, you have to make sure that those stocks belong to halal business, halal, you know, companies. They could be bonds, which is not an option for you because bond is an interest-bearing loan. You lend your money to the federal government for a certain return, and that's haram. That is haram. Zakah on stocks, again, outside the retirement account. You either actively trade in the stock market, you buy and you sell, and if that is the case, then you pay zakah on everything on the market value of the account and on the dividend that you have made. And regardless whether the dividend has been capitalized, like you paid back to the account for more investment, or you withdraw that money, it doesn't make any difference. You pay zakah on everything. What if you consider those accounts as exploited assets? The stocks in the market are not for active trading. You are not that heavily involved in buying and selling. Maybe you buy or you sell twice, 3, 4, 5 times a year, but it's not something that you practice periodically, right? You just sleep on the stocks in the market and you are happy with the dividend or the profit that you make. If that is your common practice, okay, then you don't have to pay zakah on the market value. You pay zakah on the dividend only. So exploited assets, you pay zakah on the dividend, 2.5%. Trading assets, oh, that's a completely different story. Trading assets means that those stocks are commodities. Well, you pay zakah on their market value and whatever money you generate out of them. If you mistakenly have some bonds, you need to get rid of them or just wait until the maturity of the bonds. Whatever interest you receive has to be disposed, but you still have to pay zakah on the principal of the bonds. You have one bond that's worth $5,000, okay, and you generated $700 interest. You get rid of the $700, and the $5,000 are zakatable based on 2.5%. So you pay zakah on the principal, not on the interest. The interest actually has to be disposed in full. Other financial instruments, stay away from all options, all futures, all derivatives. I'm not saying that all of them are haram, but they are not supposed to be within your comfort zone. Okay, just limit yourself to stocks and only stocks and only stocks, nothing else, right? However, if you do have some options, futures, derivatives, if you are positive that one of those derivatives or futures or options is similar to a bond where its return is guaranteed, then it has to be treated as if it is a bond. You wait until you generate that haram, profit. You dispose the haram profit. You pay zakah on the principal or the market value of the financial instrument itself. If you are not positive that those derivatives, futures, or options are haram, then you treat them as if they are stocks. Are they for active trading? You pay zakah on everything. Are they exploited assets? You pay zakah only on the dividend. There is nothing have been mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ regarding Zakatul Dain. Okay, if you lended your money to somebody else, what is the most correct opinion to my knowledge? The lender does not have to pay zakah. You gave your Muslim brother $10,000 as a loan. Okay, you do not have to pay zakah on it. You just wait until you receive your money. Okay. Now, how about the borrower himself? If you already spent the money, then there is no money to worry about. But if he kept his, that loan, that 10,000 in our example, in his possession, his bank account for one complete year, then he has to pay zakah on it. And he keeps paying zakah on it as long as he did not pay you off that loan. Once you, as a creditor, as a lender, once you receive that money, right, you start paying zakah on it. All the monthly payments that you are involved in, you pay for the mortgage of your house, for the car payment, for furniture, for appliances, whatever. And regardless whether that transaction is a haram or a halal one, right? If you, like me, believe that mortgaging a house is not a halal transaction, okay, then you, while you're still actually paying mortgage monthly payment to your mortgage company, okay, you do have the right to deduct that monthly payment in the month of Ramadan. Okay, you found out that the zakatable money that you have after doing all the math that you already discussed is $25,000, $25,000. But you did not pay $2,000 the monthly mortgage for your house. Can you put it aside? Oh, of course, put it aside. Okay, you still did not pay your tax to the government. You still owe the IRS another $3,000. Put it aside. There is another $500 for the car payment. Put it aside. Okay, another $500 for the furniture. Put it aside. You need another $3,000 for your living expenses, food, drink, transportation, groceries, etc., etc. Gas for your car. Put $3,000 aside. The net amount in our example ended up to be only $15,000, right? Out of $25,000, you found out that the net amount is only $15,000. Well, you pay zakah on the 15 only. If you are a business person, like a merchant, for example, how to determine the value of the asset that you have? You go with something called the wholesale market value. Okay, you have groceries, you have chips and snack and soda and everything in your store is halal, right? You ask yourself a very simple question: if I do not have all these groceries in the zakat due date in my store, how much I am willing to pay wholesalers or distributors to buy all this stuff that I have? That's called the wholesale market value, which is different from the invoice value, how much you already paid for them, because the market value today might be less than the invoice value. You bought chips for $5,000. For some reason, that chips was not sold for 3 months until it got expired, right? Its market value today is zero. Its market value today is zero. In fact, it is even illegal, to sell something that food that is expired, right? Although the invoice value was $3,000 or $5,000, but the market value today is zero. So do not go with the invoice value. Do not go with the retail value, how much you are asking for, because that is a targeted amount. You might receive it, you might not, right? The most fair way is to go with what is called the wholesale market value. You have you work as a car dealer, right? And you have 17 cars in your lot in the zakat due date. Okay, how much you are willing to pay out of pocket for those 17 cars if you want to buy them from the auction today? That is the wholesale market value. طيب. Do you think it is time for me to stop here and take questions?
You have another 5 minutes, Sheikh.
Sure.
Inshallah.
Zakah recipients, الفقراء, the needy individuals, العاملون عليها, the zakah workers, المؤلفة قلوبهم, most probably, according to the strongest opinion, the Muslims amongst them, right? Potential Muslims are not to be given from zakat al-mal, according to the strongest opinion. There is no unanimity. There is no consensus here. Okay, some madhahib believe that non-Muslims who are expected to become Muslims are still eligible zakah recipient. If you ask me a question, do not give your zakah to non-Muslims. You can give them sadaqah, donation. This is a kind of devotion. It's a kind of rewardable act, right? But zakatul mal is collected from Muslims only from Muslims. Well, it is fair enough to distribute zakatul mal to Muslims only. For riqab, slaves and captives, al-gharimin, debt ridden. If someone already borrowed money for some legitimate expenses, he cannot afford saving money to pay it off. The loan is due. He borrowed that money for any legitimate reason, then he can take from zakatul mal. Fi sabilillah, which is the category that I want to emphasize here. Fi sabilillah actually does not have to be the traditional practice in the past, which is to give the volunteers among the mujahideen who used to go with the Prophet ﷺ, because fi sabilillah, linguistically speaking, means for the cause of Allah. Okay, if there was a common practice in the past, okay, that limits that category to the volunteers among the mujahideen, this does not establish a unanimity or a new rule that fi sabilillah means for jihad purposes. Well, even if you insist in paying, under fi sabilillah for jihad purposes, again, linguistically speaking, jihad means striving, exerting effort to do something. According to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ himself, he considered paying money and education as a kind of jihad. By the way, there is a difference in the Quran itself between the term jihad and the term qital. Qital actually is the physical one, is the military one. كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم وقاتلوا في سبيل الله الذين يقاتلون. Oh, that is qital. I mean, you cannot mess with the meaning. Qital means actual fight, right? Shooting and killing and physical one. But jihad, no. Jihad actually is way more comprehensive than qital. Jihad means exerting effort. It could be effort in a good way, effort in a bad way, right? It could be for a noble cause, for a bad cause. Prophet ﷺ said, Jahidul mushrikeen, apply jihad against the enemies of Islam, the polytheists at that time, okay? بأموالكم, with your wealth, with your lives, and with your tongues. Okay? جاهدوا المشركين بأموالكم وأنفسكم وألسنتكم. Okay? Through the education and da'wah and interfaith dialogue. So to conclude, fi sabilillah means to establish the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to empower, to strengthen, Muslims, to make sure that Muslims are well established and well respected in the society. And that's why the very first fiqh council who issued a fatwa back in 1405 after Hijrah, that is 37 years ago, which is the fiqh council of the Muslim World League, they said that أعمال الدعوة, any da'wah activities are to be included fi sabilillah. And then the European Council of Fatwa and Research supported that fatwa. And then our fiqh council, where I'm a part of, which is the Assembly of Muslim Universities of America, issued the fatwa that yes, building masajid as needed. Okay, zakah money could be paid for masajid construction, masajid expansion, masajid operation, for Islamic schools, for Islamic universities, for any Islamic organization, as long as you as a zakah payer, as long as you believe that this is a legitimate organization, it does a good job in serving, the Muslim community, in preserving the Muslim identity, whether you're talking about ICNA or ISNA or MAS or Muslim Legal Fund of America, MLFA, whatever the organization might be. If they need your zakah money, right? And you believe that this is a legitimate organization that does a legitimate work, needed work, and you trust the leadership of that organization, then you can pay zakatul mal for them. Personally, I do pay my personal zakah for masajid, for Islamic schools, for Islamic organizations, for MLFA any single organization that I know very well, and I see their work on the ground, and I know the leaders of that organization, and I trust them, I just give them, from Zakatul Mal. We have actually a lot to discuss, but let me stop here because my 5 extra minutes are over, and I think it is time to open the floor for question and answer.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Main. Alhamdulillah, this is very, very comprehensive topic, Sheikh. It's very, very good that you give like practical examples for us. So we have like a lot of questions already sent personally and also in the chat. Okay, so one question says about the Zakatul Fitra. Can we pay Zakatul Fitra with money? Some scholars said that we should pay with provision like food.
Yes, we do have a fatwa in our fiqh council in IMSA that you pay Zakat al-Fitr based on whatever is easier for you, as well as more beneficial for the recipients. And of course, nowadays, like giving Zakat al-Fitr in kind, like food, does not help the needy at all, because they know their needs more than anybody else. They might need for clothes, to buy for the Eid, maybe furniture, maybe toys for the kids, maybe a sweet. I mean, you should not actually impose certain item on them and tell them, listen, you have to take Zakat al-Fitr food, for example. Give them cash money, and this actually was the practice of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiallahu anhu, who used to collect Zakat al-Fitr from people via in kind, and not, I'm sorry, in cash, not in kind. So this is a very legitimate madhab, and this is actually what we adopt in our fiqh council, and we ask Muslims to pay Zakat al-Fitr in cash.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. So there's another question, but Zakah is not allowed for parents, siblings, or in-laws. Just want to confirm about the law on this families.
Yeah. The only categories whom you cannot pay Zakatul Mal for are 2 only: the ascendants and the descendants. Ascendants means parents, grandparents, and on. Descendants, children, grandchildren, and down, right? Because there is a mutual financial sponsorship responsibility between parents and kids, right? Anything else, siblings, cousins, paternal uncles, maternal uncles, paternal aunts, maternal aunts, any extended family member can take from Zakat al-Mal. Can you pay your Zakat to your direct brother? Yes, you can. To your direct sister, you can, if you are not the responsible party for that sister. If she is still, for example, well, let me just keep it simple. If you are the sponsor of your sister, okay, then you cannot pay her from Zakat al-Mal. If you are not responsible for her, okay, and she is in need for money, yes, you can pay your Zakah to your sister. Your in-laws, for example, definitely you can give them Zakat al-Mal.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. There's a question about the confusion about the terminology used: sadaqah, infaq, waqaf, and with zakah. Is there any simple rules to differentiate between these terminologies?
Well, the Quran itself actually is the one who called the actual zakah as sadaqah. The very famous ayah, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم. This ayah in Surah Al-Tawbah talks about the 8 different categories as the eligible zakah recipients. So there is no like clear-cut differentiation between them. Zakah could be called sadaqah. Sadaqah could be called zakah. Waqf actually is different. Waqf is the charitable endowment. Waqf is the charitable. I mean, this is the best translation to my knowledge. Waqf is the charitable endowment. You have a masjid, okay? You have a masjid. You have a school, and you bought a piece of land, okay, for the sake of the masjid. like piece of land for rent, or maybe apartment complex, right? And the plan was to generate money, and that money is designated to support the masjid itself. That's called waqf. It is charitable endowment. It's not for profit. It is to cover the expenses of the masjid. Okay. Now, in some cultures, when you say sadaqah, the very first thing to think about is to give money to the needy individuals. Okay. Although, like technically, fiqh-wise, it doesn't have to be the case. Okay. You can pay Zakatul mal, and you call it sadaqah, because again the Quran is the one who called it sadaqah. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين. So a new Muslim who is well off, wealthy, new Muslim is eligible to take from Zakatul mal. He is not faqir, but he is among المؤلفة قلوبهم, like new Muslims, new converts. So drawing a line, between those categories is not that easy job, actually. No.
Jazakallah khair, sir. There's a question about the I think you already touched this on the talk about the retirement as well as 401k. If we do need to pay for 401k, do we need to calculate it based on market value of the 401k, or based on what we contributed, or based on how much money we could have received now minus the penalty, like you said before?
Wallahi, before I forget, let me share with you a very good application, Zakah calculator. Zakah calculator actually has been developed by one of those Islamic investment companies, where I'm their Sharia advisor. Here is the link. It is for everybody. Yeah, this one. This one actually is a very advanced one. It captured almost everything that we American Muslims care about when it comes to IRA and 401k and long-term investment and on and on. So you can use it. It does not require like any confidential information, no name, no social security, nothing whatsoever. Okay. And once you enter the information, it gives you the answer right away automatically. Now, to answer the question for the 401k, again, you go with the withdrawable amount. You find out how much money you can access. Okay? If you insist in withdrawing as much as you can, okay, how much is the total? You start your math with the total. You deduct the penalty, the tax, the charges, the interest, the processing fees, and the net amount. You take another 15-20% of it as usul thabita, as fixed assets, and you pay zakah on the rest based on the market value of the assets at that at that day. Now,
okay, Jazakallah khair. There's a question about someone who still has a debt about such as a home mortgage. Does he or she need to pay it off first, or still need to pay zakah every year?
Only the due payment in the month of Ramadan is deductible. Okay, I'll give you an example. You found out that the zakatable money that you have in the month of Ramadan is $100,000, right? And the outstanding balance for the mortgage company is $100,000, just to keep it simple, right? Now you have two options. If you decide to pay off your mortgage and to get a clear title, go for it. Okay, pay the $100,000 in full to the mortgage company, get a clear title, and you are zakah exempt for that year. Okay, this is one option, and I highly recommend. I mean, if you can do it, because if someone is involved in traditional mortgage, that is riba. That's haram. As simple as that. So the best option you have is to get rid of that loan, because the amortization system here in the US. Every single payment you make monthly is divided into two different portions. Certain portion goes toward the principal, and the other one goes toward the interest. Is that correct? Now, if you increase your payment, that extra amount will go toward the principal and consequently reduces the interest. Is that correct? So if you pay in full, okay, if you pay in full, you will get rid of the interest right away. You will get rid of the interest right away. I'll give another example. Okay, you bought a house via like conventional mortgage process for $200,000 as a principal, right? And the total amount that you have to pay is $350,000 within 10 years. So $200,000 principal, $150,000 interest. Are you catching up with me? Okay. Next day in the morning, okay, you found out that you do have money and you can pay off. You can pay off to the mortgage company. Next day in the morning, do you have to pay 350 or only 200,000? Only 200,000, because if you pay the principal, you know, consequently it will demolish. It will like, you know, what do you call it? It will cancel. It will cancel the interest. Back to our question. My zakatable money for this year is 100,000, okay, and the principal that I owe to the mortgage company is 100,000. Maybe there's another $20,000 interest. If I decide to pay the principal in full, I will get a clear title. Most importantly, I will get rid of the interest. If you decide to do so, go for it. Do not pay zakah. Do not pay zakah. Go ahead and pay the principal in full, and you are zakah exempt. But the thing that you cannot do is to say, okay, my zakatable money is 100,000 and my mortgage is 100,000, so we're break even. I'm in debt, right? I don't have to pay zakah, and at the end of the day, you do not pay those 100,000 to the mortgage company. So use them to excuse yourself from zakatul mal, but you do not pay them off. Oh, that's wrong. If you decide not to pay zakat, then you have to pay that amount actually, physically. You have to pay it to the mortgage company and get rid of the riba and get your title clear and move on. For that particular year, yes, you are exempted from zakat. Now,
there's a question. I think this one is you already mentioned about this, about the difference between money gotten under the table, no tax, and money which is gotten after tax. Is there any difference between those in terms of zakah?
All the money that you have, whether documented, known by the IRS or unknown, right, are zakatable. Now, tax-wise, your stimulus check that you receive from the government is tax exempt. Inheritance up to certain number, I think, is tax exempt. What else? Gifts, okay, honorarium that you receive from others for any, you know, services that you provide for up to certain amount is tax exempt. When it comes to zakah, everything is zakatable. Okay, you inherited money from your relatives, that's included. You received a stimulus check from the government, that is zakatable. What else? You got income tax return from the IRS, that is zakatable. You inherited money from one of your relatives, that is zakatable. You received cash money as a gift, not as a sadaqah, gift from someone, okay, that is zakat. Everything that you have, okay, cash money in the zakat due date is zakatable. Now,
but it need to be waited for 1 year, right, Shay? Or is it when you receive the stimulus check, for example, do we need to right away pay 2.5% of it?
No. You just wait until the zakat due date. If your zakat due date is in the month of Ramadan, right, which is most probably the case, you find out how much money you have, okay, regardless of where the money came from, unless you have like irregular, very, very irregular, significant amount of money. Let's say, for example, inheritance. Okay, you work as an engineer, okay, as an oil and gas engineer in Shell, right? So most of all of your income actually is coming from your job, from your profession, your job in Shell, okay? And your zakat due date is the month of Ramadan, okay? Now, 3 or 4 months before the month of Ramadan, one of your relatives back home passed away, and you inherited $500,000. Okay, you don't have to pay zakah on those $500,000 on the month of Ramadan, because this is a irregular source of income. You establish a new hawl, a new zakah due date and hawl for that particular money. You receive that $500,000 in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal. You wait until Rabi' al-Awwal of the next year. If you still have that money, the inheritance money, you pay zakah on it. So you end up having like two different zakah due date. One of them is the regular one, okay, which is the one that you receive from your employer, from Shell in our example, and the other one is for the irregular source of income, which is the inheritance.
Jazakallah khair. There's another question, but someone invested 100,000 in a own business and then still not get profit or break even point until 2 years. Does she or he needs to pay zakah mal within 2 years?
It depends on the nature of the business. What kind of business is it? Is it a trading, like importing and exporting business? If the answer is yes, and she or he has like commodities, like he invested his money in buying shirts, buying clothes, buying fresh food, whatever the business might be, right? Okay? If that money has been converted to commodities and merchandise, then yes, he has to pay zakah on the market value of the commodities. You see, but if he invested his money in a manufacturer, for example, right, and buying like new machines to produce or to manufacture products, right, those machines are usul thabita, are fixed assets. They are not for sale, and thus zakah exempt. So we need to verify, we need to like dig in depth and find out what kind of business he is referring to before we answer the question. If it is a trading business, buying and selling, then yes, all the money that has been translated or converted to commodities and merchandise, yes, I mean they are zakatable. Right? If it is manufacturing business and the money has been spent on buying machines that produces products, final products, then there is no zakah. It depends on the nature of the business.
There's a question about the paying zakatul mal in the form of food or clothing when we distribute it, or it has to be cash.
You do not have to limit yourself or to restrict yourself to a certain way or a certain form of paying zakatul mal. If you have agricultural products, and instead of paying your zakah via crops, via agricultural products, you can pay it cash. You can pay it crops. If you have livestock business, you can pay your zakah livestock, like actual animals. You can pay it cash. Whatever is more beneficial for the recipients and easier for you. Nowadays, here in 2021 in USA, I would highly recommend my brothers and sisters to pay any kind of zakah via cash money. Forget about like in kind. Forget about commodities. Forget about food. Forget about crops. Just pay everything in cash, because people actually will be having a lot of like recipients, a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility in choosing and buying whatever they need. Kids want to have like to buy some toys before Eid. I mean, you cannot impose certain food on them. They do not want food. They want to buy toys. You see? So we need to be more responsive and more reasonable when it comes to paying zakah. My recommendation: pay in cash, everything. Do not pay, in kind. No.
Okay, mashallah. There's one brother asks, for trading asset stocks, considering the value keeps changing every day, do we just need to decide a particular date every year to use as the market value of the stocks and pay zakah based on that market value of that date? I think this probably you mentioned it before, but maybe it's some clarification.
Yeah, technically speaking, if you want to go with the book, okay, your hawl, your fiscal lunar year starts from the day where you accumulate or constitute a nisab. which is $4,500 worth of investment. In the real life, akhi, in the real life, it's almost close to impossible to remember which day of the year you constituted $4,500. You cannot remember, right? Including me, alhamdulillah, I pay my zakah every year, but I cannot tell, which day I accumulated $4,500. So we just, take it easy, and we set the month of Ramadan as our hawl, as our zakah due date. Okay. Having said that, in the zakah due date, which is the month of Ramadan, you take a snapshot, as they say. In that particular day, Ramadan the 1st of 1442 after Hijrah. Okay. How much is the market value? Okay. Forget about the stocks 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 months before Ramadan. I'm talking about in the zakah due date, right? If you want to liquidate your account today, how much money you will be getting? If you want to sell all the financial instruments that you have in Ramadan the 1st of 1442 after Hijrah, how much money you will be getting? That is the market value that you need to pay zakah based on. I wish the answer is clear.
Yes.
So please make sure that you post this link. This is a very advanced application, and alhamdulillah, I spent a lot of time work on it, improving it until it it reached to a point where alhamdulillah it responds to the vast majority of the questions that we have in mind when it comes to investment, when it comes to Muslims living in this society.
Yeah, inshallah, we will share in our localities as well, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
There's a question about bitcoins, cryptocurrency. Is it halal or haram, or if it's halal, is it zakatable? I think this one is pretty contemporary. Yeah.
No. We have two portions of the question. The first one is the status of Bitcoin, right, or cryptocurrency in general. Is it a legitimate currency that we can trade in? And the second question, if it is money, is it zakatable or not? Well, let me start with the second part. If we agree that cryptocurrency is money, then it is zakatable. If it is equivalent to the cash money, to the American dollars that you have in your pocket, in your checking account, then actually it is zakatable. Now, is it okay to trade in cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency actually is a decentralized currency. It's not backed up by any official financial authority. There is no central bank. There is no Federal Reserve behind it. Okay, some just people from behind the scene create every now and then cryptocurrency. Sometimes Bitcoins. We have like a variety of options in the market. Until today, the majority of central banks all over the world, okay, even commercial banks, do not acknowledge cryptocurrency as a legit currency. So the general acceptance of the money is not there, right? This is number one. And number two, cryptocurrency in particular, akhi, involves a lot of gharar and jahala, like ambiguity and uncertainty. There is unjustified unjustified fluctuation in the market value of the cryptocurrency. It goes up, and then it goes down, all at a sudden, and you do not know what are the main factors behind that surprising fluctuation in the market value of it. So this is actually called gharar. Gharar means ambiguity. I mean, you buy something, for $10 today, it might jump to $55 after 1 hour. It might, go down to only $1. You do not know. And the third concern that we have is that some people might use cryptocurrency for money laundering, which is something illegal. Our official position in IMSA is that we do not like trading in cryptocurrency. We do not dare saying it is haram. No, it is not haram. But we highly recommend our Muslim community to stay away from this kind of business because it is very risky. very risky, and it does involve a lot of gharar, ambiguity, uncertainty, and a lot of people actually will get involved. Yes, they made some money, but they lost way more than what they have made. If you do have cryptocurrency, if you do have it, then yes, it is zakatable. You find out how much is the value of the cryptocurrency in the zakat due date in the month of Ramadan, in the beginning of the month of Ramadan, and you pay zakat on it accordingly. No.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I have still like 4 questions, but one more I think I can for the time. Okay, the other question, I'm really sorry. I will try to say if it's okay for you if I send it to you, and then we
Yes.
get some answer from you. Inshallah, I'll distribute it to those who ask.
Sure.
This last question is: why is stock that is held as long as a long-term investment not subject to zakah? Isn't it the same as holding gold? They are both easily converted to cash.
Well, the gold that you have, if it is a jewelry, then this is like a personal item for your personal use. It is zakah exempt according to the strongest opinion. Now, the stocks that you hold for a long time investment, they are not technically, they are not urudu tijara. They are not tradable assets, right? You are just happy with the dividend that you make out of holding those stocks, and that's why they are closer to exploited assets. Like those stocks are equivalent to the taxi cab that you have. If you do not have to pay zakah on the market value of the taxi cab and you pay zakah on the money that you generate, then this is the same example. If you have a rental apartment, if you do not pay zakah on the value of the apartment and you pay zakah on the lease revenue, then this is actually the same. You are holding the stock, it's not for sale, and you generate money out of it, right? Whatever you generate is zakatable. You see, that's the reason.
MashaAllah, Sheikh, this topic is very comprehensive. I mean, like a lot of questions asked about because it's content.
Yeah.
Inshallah, maybe we should have another session, Sheikh. This one is supposed to be 3 hours.
Yes. As I said in the beginning, if I'm to go through the slides one by one,
Yes.
I need a good 3 hours to take my time and explain every single concept. But since the time is
Yes.
limited, I wish in those 45, 50 minutes that I presented that, alhamdulillah, and I covered maybe some basic information that Muslims in the US are supposed to be well aware of.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. So, as a conclusion, Sheikh, could you give some, for us some reminder and as well as some dua before we close, inshallah?
Yeah, as I said, alhamdulillah, we are approaching the last 10 days and 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. And in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, according to Aisha, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل العشر, when the last 10 days of Ramadan start, Prophet ﷺ used to stay up for devotion the whole night long. أحيا ليله وأيقظ أهله, used to awake his family members. وشد المئزر, he became even more diligent and dedicated in his ibadah. So it is time for us to follow the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ and to take full advantage of every single moment and those last 10 days and 10 nights of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all being among those sincere and diligent and dedicated servants of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us rahmah and maghfirah and utq min al-nar. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم بلغنا ما بقي من رمضان وأعنا فيه على الصيام والقيام وغض البصر وحفظ اللسان. اللهم واعتق رقابنا ورقاب والدينا والمسلمين أجمعين من النار. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you so much for the opportunity again, and I wish inshallah we will stay inshallah in touch for future.
Yes, inshallah, Sheikh. Yeah. We will invite you again, inshallah, in the other opportunities, events, and also. So there's maybe some from Arya, is the president of IMSA. We have also the Ramadan.imsa.us/care for those who wants to donate the Zakatul, Fitra, Zakatul Mal, as well as other donations, you can visit ramadan.imsa.us/care. Go ahead, Brother Arya.
I just want to say Jazakallah khair to Syekh Main. Alhamdulillah, we benefit a lot from your explanation, and inshallah may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept everyone's intention to fulfill zakah as one of the pillars of Islam in this month of Ramadan.
نعم جزاك الله خير حياك الله.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh Main. Inshallah, we see again next time. I hope this one is the start of the, we have a lot of questions, especially with the contemporary, financial and stuff like that, inshallah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for our closing, inshallah, we recite the Kafaratul Majlis. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Thank you guys for coming. Inshallah, we meet you again for another events in IMSA. Visit ramadan.imsa.us for all the Ramadan event, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.